guys, today we are going to do our very first lesson in Module 6, which is all about how to gather information and organize it to make it easier for us to make decisions in math. Today our goal is to generate and organize data. What does it mean to generate and organize? Generate just means we're going to collect or gather information, and organize means we're going to arrange it in an easier way for us to understand it. Data is a fancy word that we use to say valuable information. So when you hear me use the word data, that means that I'm talking about the information that we have gathered through our survey or poll. Earlier this week, I sent out a Google form with some questions about your favorite color, your favorite sport, your favorite fruit, and your favorite pets. Today, we're going to look at the results from your favorite color. I gave you 5 color choices: green, yellow, red, blue, and orange. And you had to decide out of those 5 colors which was your most favorite. Here are the results. Our favorite colors, in no particular order, were blue, blue, orange, green, blue, blue again, green, red, blue, and red. Just by looking at this information, I can tell pretty quickly that blue was the most important choice. But it's kind of hard to tell if orange, green, or red had the same number of votes or if one was a little bit more popular than the other. So, how can we keep track of our data in an organized way so that we can see our results a little bit more clearly? One efficient way that we can use is to collect and organize our data in a tally chart. You may have done a tally chart last year in 2nd grade. At least, I hope you did a tally chart in 2nd grade last year, because this will certainly make our lesson go a lot smoother. Let's take a look. I'm going to look at the list over here of our favorite colors, and we're going to fill them in one by one. So at the top of my chart, I have a title that says favorite colors, which is because that's the question that we asked, and that's what our information is based on. Then over here, I look and I see green is the first color in our list. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say green, there's 1, green, there's 2, and make 2 tally marks. The next color on our list is yellow. I don't see any yellow over here, so I'm going to leave that blank. I'm not even going to write a 0 in it. The next one on our list is red. As I go down our choices and the results, I see 1, 2 for red. So I'll make 2 tally marks for red. Next is blue. We have a lot of blue, but I'm not sure exactly how many. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue. So let's go ahead and make some tally marks. Now I only have 4 tally marks here. Hopefully you remember from 5th grade that when we use tally marks, we don't keep counting by ones as far as we need to. We bundle them into 5s. This makes it easier for when we're gathering a lot of data to be able to quickly count by 5s and come to a quick conclusion. The last color on our list is orange. And as I go through my list, I see only 1 person chose orange. So I'm going to make 1 tally mark. Now we have our tally chart filled in. We can use that to answer some important questions. What can this data tell us exactly? A lot. I took our tally chart and I put it into a numerical chart. That means that I took the numbers that I saw in the tally and I wrote the actual number under the name, so it would take up less space. Sometimes if we're doing a chart, it's hard to do just the numbers right away. So I like to do the tally chart and then transfer that into the number form. Let's look at the first question on our chart. How does their information help us to answer these questions? How many students chose orange as their favorite color? I look down here and I see 1 student chose orange. How many students chose yellow? 0 students chose yellow. Not one single student in our class decided that yellow was their favorite color. That's kind of sad. I like yellow. It's bright and sunshiny. Which color did the students choose the most frequently? So frequently means amount of times. So if something is the most frequent, that means it was chosen the most amount of times. Out of all of the colors down here, which one was picked the most? Blue was picked 5 times. So that was the most frequent choice. And how many students chose it? 5 students. Which color did the students choose the least? Well, poor yellow. Nobody chose yellow, so that was the least popular. That means that one was chosen the least, and 0 students chose it. What is the difference between the number of students who chose blue and yellow? And how can we write that as a number sentence? Now think back to your math brains. When we see the word difference, that should say right away to you, we are comparing two things. We need to decide which one is greater, which one is smaller, and then find how much bigger the one number is than the other. So look at blue. 5 children picked blue, and then look at yellow. 0 children looked at or chose yellow. 5 is how much bigger than yellow, or yellow is how much smaller than blue. How do we find the difference? By subtracting. The difference between blue and yellow is 5 minus 0 equals 5. Now let's write an equation to show the total number of students surveyed on this chart. The easiest way to do that is to take each of the numbers from our chart and add them up to find the total number of students who took our survey. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 plus 1. And when we add that all up, we get a total of 10 students, which, side note, is kind of disappointing because we have 18 students in our class, just saying. Now that we have all of this information, is a tally chart really the most efficient way to organize our data? Or can you guys think of some way that you organize data in second grade that would make more sense for us to use? We can use a picture graph. A picture graph is a fantastic way to show information gathered together so we can quickly read it and compare what is the frequency of the most, the least, how many have the same answers. At the top, you see that I highlighted in red. This is where the title of my chart goes, because at some point you guys are going to have to start making your own charts and not just filling in mine. Down here, instead of having my colors listed in a column down, now I have them in one row across, and we're going to build our information vertically. So this is a vertical graph. Then right here, I have the word data. That's to remind you that for each color, that's where we're going to put the information that we collected. Now down here, it's kind of hard to see because, oops, let's go back. It's kind of hard to see because this silly window keeps popping up, which is really annoying, and I don't know how to make that go away. But our key is 1 student per heart, okay? So every student that made a vote is going to get 1 heart. So if you remember from our list, 2 students picked green as their favorite color. So we're going to do 1 heart for the first student and a second heart for the next student. I already went ahead and filled out that one for you, so you can help me by taking a look at it. So again, 2 students filled out green. We had no students who chose yellow, so there's 0 hearts here. 2 students chose red, so there it is. And then 5 students chose blue, and then last 1 student chose orange. Now by looking at our chart, it is very clear what was the most popular choice in our class. That's right, blue. Blue is definitely the most popular. We already knew that from looking at our tally chart, but now looking at our picture graph, it's a little bit easier to see because that column has way more hearts than the ones near it. Which color was the least favorite? That's right, yellow. Not a single student chose yellow. It appears the least amount of times on our chart, 0 times to be exact. Now, what if I had a lot of data? What if I surveyed the entire 3rd grade and I had 75 responses to put on here? That would be a lot more hearts to try to squeeze in, and I could barely fit the 5 right here that I squeezed in. So what could I do to make it easier to fit all of my information? Well, remember when I talked to you about the key telling us that 1 heart equals 1 student? It doesn't always have to be 1 heart per 1 student, or 1 square, or 1 star, or whatever the key is being used in the chart. I can make that represent as many students as I want because we know how to multiply. Let's change it to 2 students per 1 heart. So now for every heart that I see on my chart, I know that 2 students picked that. So now instead of having 2 hearts with 1 vote, I have 1 heart. That means 2 students, okay? Our yellow didn't change because 0 is 0 is 0. Now look at our red. We had 2 hearts before. Now we only have 1 heart, which still represents 2 votes, just in a different way. Now the trickiest one is blue, because blue is an odd number, and we know that we cannot divide an odd number into 2 equal groups. So instead, I had to show a half of a heart to equal 1 student. So if I count, I have 2, 4, and a half of 2 is 1 more, so that makes 5 hearts. Same thing with orange. Only 1 student had responded with orange as their favorite, so I chopped that heart in half to show half of my heart is 1 student. Now, when you look at these tables, is it easier to read one table versus the other to collect our data? In this instance, it might be a little bit easier to read the one on the top, where each heart equals only 1 student, because we didn't collect a lot of data. But if we had surveyed the entire 3rd grade and we did need to fit 75 students' votes, it would be easier to represent it with our lower table and have 2 or 3 or even 5 votes per heart. If I had 75 students that chose blue, I could say 75 divided by 5, and I would have a lot less hearts crammed in here than if I did it by 2s or 1s. Well, that's it for me today. Now it's your turn. I put all of these slides together in formative for you to practice. It's the same thing that I just went over. So you can watch the slideshow again and practice going through formative one by one, making sure that you understand what I did for you. And then if you're not sure, you can just send me a message, or I will be available on Google Hangouts from 1 to 2 today for you to message me. I was doing it at 10 to 11, and it seems like a lot of people like to sleep in and not get their work done so early. So I'm moving it to the afternoon. So that way, even if you do your work early, you can hop back on later on to ask me about it. Then, once you understand that and you feel comfortable, I have an exit ticket for you in formative. So make sure that you use the Daily Math Google slide template that I gave you in our Google Classroom to help you keep track of first, next, and last. That way you know you won't miss any of the assignments for today. Have a great day.